Hello students, in this class we'll discuss constructors. So what is a constructor? Constructors are a special type of functions which has same name as the name of class. So let me first show you one program, and maybe if you'll understand this program, then it will be easy to understand what a constructor actually is. So before giving you theoretical idea about this, programming is learned in this way only. Okay, you first try to understand a program, and then you will automatically understand the theory or the things behind those things, the new things or anything. So the matter is how well you are understanding any concept. So with the help of a program, I would like to make your concept clear. Here I have written class and the name is const. Any name, you know what rule you have to follow. Then what? In object-oriented programming, we have mainly two things encapsulated in a class. One is data, another is functions. And there is no logical limit in how many data could be there or how many functions can be there. So let me make a simple program with very simple data, like I'm making A and B, two int variables, very simple. After learning this program, first one, you may modify this with various data types, and you can increase the number of data as well. So this is what we have done. Now let me make a constructor, or let me make a function first. Display the value, display the value of the variables. Very simple. Students, always remember that if you are learning anything, then try to keep the things as simple as possible. Once you understood in the simple format, then you can understand this in tough programs with tough format also. Value of A, variable A. Okay. Copy paste helps you. So you also need to learn how you can copy and paste the things. Okay. Right now we have following the object oriented concept, we have made what? Two data of integer type A and B and a function. What that function is doing, when this function will be invoked. Invoke means to call a function. Then these two statements will execute, and these statements are just simply meant for outputting the value of the variable A and B. Fine. Now let us make the rule. Now we have to create object one. Now will be one dot. With the help of this object, or for this object, or this object is now invoking this function. This is all about the rules. This has been already discussed, but as I told you that I have been making a new video session where I'm revising everything. So all those who have not attended all the classes, this may help you all. So now let us save this. It's always good to keep the command window and the code window side by side, so that you could easily see the changes or see everything clearly. Compile. Java C is used for compiling. The name of file is const.java. वाह, बहुत सुंदर. एरर आना अच्छा बात है, ठीक है. और क्या दिक्कत बता रहा है? Identifier expected. What identifier expected? Spelling is okay. Let me see. Illegal start. What is? Hmm. 1 second. Can you see the error? You can write in the chat box. Some simple or silly mistake may be there. It's not coming to my eyes. Hmm. Okay, 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 okay. Look at this. This has changed the color. Good thing to learn. Look, the color of this class and the color of this and the color of these. What does they indicate? They indicate that all these are keywords, and class name or variable names cannot be a keyword. So construct or const one did this may also help. Now let us try this. Everywhere we have to make this change. Now it's fine. So it really helps. Now we have seen in this class that look, there are a lot of keywords, and it's not always possible to keep all the keywords in your mind. So this thing happens, so no need to worry much. So now I think you might have understood that this color may also help you to understand. Actually, this const I've used in a C++ earlier, but it has been so long. So now I've changed the name and the things are fine. Yes, now one more thing you have to understand here. It has been already always told to you that you have to give the class name same as the name of file. I mean, whatever but this time, this is a different name because here the class name is const1. But We had already saved the file with this name const. So now what has happened? No errors and all. Look, this happens. I mean, you can give a different name also, but this is a good suggestion that you give the file name same as the name of class. Because what happens? Look, the class name which is generated, it's const one. Why so? Because the class name is const one. File name we have written this, but since it was not working, we made change here. So after compilation, this is the name which is generated after proper compilation. So it is suggested that you should give the same name as the class name. So you follow this rule, but you can give other names also, but you have to follow this. Now what? Java const one. It's displaying the value of A and B, which is 0. Why 0? So we all know, or you should know, that every variable that we create, unlike C or C++, Java gives default value to it. 0 is the default value for integer, for float, as well as for double. Means all the numbers are initialized with 0 as their default value. So this is what happens. Now, where the constructor comes then? So, dear students, you have to know one thing, that every time we are making an object-oriented program, then even though we are not making any constructor, then also a default constructor is automatically there. Default constructor is there. It's not visible, but it's there. So this is again one of the rule. So even though you are not making any constructor, a default constructor is there which gives default value to the data. And this is the most important part. When we are learning constructor, then this is one of the most important part. This says that earlier it has been told to you that this is how we create object. Of course, this is one of the thing about this line. But the another thing is, actually we are allocating a space for this object. Let me make this point clear with the help of RAM. Let us once again use Excel for simulating the effect of RAM. Look, this is 1 byte, 2 byte, 3 byte, 4 byte, like this. This is a class. We have two data. We have created one object. Then what exactly happens that when we create an object, then memory space or memory is allocated to that object. OB1 is the object's name, OB1.A. A is what kind of data? A is integer data. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bytes will be reserved for A. If I could look, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bytes are reserved for OB1's A. Every time we are creating an object, then that much space is needed. Now OB1.B. This also will take 4 byte in RAM. So extra space. So this much number of bytes are reserved for this object, OB1. Now let me show you what happens if we'll create another object. And this time let us make object 2. Or there is no need to write object's name as object 1, object 2. You can write anybody's name, like any name, uh, Ajay. Ajay, what is Ajay? Are, this may be the name of object also. Is it possible? Of course, it's simple variable, a valid variable. It can be. So this time what is happening? A capital, so we'll have to treat in this way, case sensitivity. A dot A, again 4 byte for this will be reserved, and same way, this is how the things are happening. Yes, you know these things. So object name may be any name, but OB1, OB2 helps to understand it better, but any other name may be given. And every time we are creating an object using this line, then we are actually allocating space. And the task of allocation of space is done with the help of new keyword. This new keyword helps us to allocate the space. And this is the utility of new. New is a, so far we haven't discussed much about this new keyword. It has been told to you that just write it. When the right time will come, you'll learn. So this may be the right time to learn why new is written. So new keyword is used to allocate space. Okay. Why do we write this? Why do we write this? So dear students, this actually is the default constructor. We are actually calling the default constructor. I just said right now that even if you are not making any constructor, then also a constructor is there. And this is the default constructor and we are calling it. So now it's time to learn more about constructor. What is the utility of constructor? What is a constructor? So now I'm to say something very important about constructor, and you must properly understand this. The first point about constructor is constructor is a function, and this function does not have any return type. First point, that constructor is a function. Second point, it does not have any return type. Third point, it is automatically called when we make any object. Here we are making object and we are writing like this, then it is called. So we have been discussing so many things about constructor, but we have not yet discussed what is the importance of it. Why do we use this? What is the main motto of using a constructor? So the main motto, foremost motto, the main thing about constructor is that it is used to give initial value to the data members. Constructor's main purpose is to provide initial value to the data members. Initial value means, like when we executed this program, it was displaying 0 and 0. Why so? You might be thinking the default value is 0, so 0. This is one of the point that is okay, but this default value is also provided to A and B with the help of this default constructor. Let me make this point a little more clear. As I said, now I'm going to create one constructor. Constructor 1. Same name as the class name. As I said, is a function. Functions means it must have parentheses like this. Another thing is it does not have any return type. Like display is a function. It's normal. It's not a constructor. So we need to write here void if you don't want to return, or int or anything we can write. But this do not contain any return type. I mean, this part is blank. And if we are leaving blank this parenthesis, then we are actually modifying the default constructor. Earlier I said that we don't need to make default constructor. It's already there. But now I'm telling you that we can modify the default constructor. Earlier, when we were not making a constructor, when there was one constructor already there, the default constructor, then it was assigning default value to the data members, and therefore A is value 0 and B is 0. But this time I'm modifying, or I'm making a constructor, and this time explicitly I'm telling that whenever this constructor will be called, then do what? A is value 3 and B is value 4. Now just making this, let us now run this. Now see, this is what happening. Look, this is the constructor. This is called, and when this was called, A's values became 3 and 4. And when we'll call display function for Ajay, then also you must see A value is 3 and B value 4. This is for object 1. This is for object 2. So this is how it is working. So this is one example of constructor. Constructor is an overloaded function. I mean, we can have various versions of a constructor. Now I'm going to make another version, intx. Here, parameterized constructor you may call. Here I'm doing what? A equals x, B equals x. My new things are, what is this? Don't worry. This is just another constructor. One constructor having no argument. This is default constructor. The constructor having no arguments in it, it is the default constructor. Whatever you wish to do, you can do there. And the motto always should be there in your mind that the main motto of constructor is to initialize give the initial value to the data members. Okay. Now, how to call such a function? Let us see this. Const1 ob3 new const. What kind of format it has? It is ready to accept one integer argument. So let us give an integer number here, like 67 or any number. And ob3 dot display. What does this do? Let us see. Now a value is also 67, because when we called like this, then we are calling actually this form of constructor. Overloading means polymorphism. The name is same, look, but the difference is in the arguments, and which makes the difference. When we are not writing anything here, then this version of constructor is called. When we are writing this, then this version of constructor is called. And what will happen if you write something like this? ob4 comma 56. Then since we have not yet made any constructor of such type, so this kind of error is coming. So how can we make? Look, we can make another version having 2 arguments, and this time we can do like this. You have to watch this video again and again so you could learn. Now we have made another constructor of this type. Look, 3 versions of constructors we have right now. One is the default constructor, where we are assigning a with 4. We have a constructor with 1 parameter, and both of them having the same values. And this time we have 2 parameters. And look, the different ways of creating object and calling the various functions. Every time we are doing this, what is happening? Yes, this is happening. Various objects are getting created, memory locations are being allocated to them, and every version has its own set of this locations. So it's working this way. save it. Let me call it with object 4 also. Look, now this fourth object has 6750 as their new or the initial values. So dear students, this is